Hello and welcome to another episode of
Absolute Game of Nerd!
Yes, today is our 75th episode. It is going to be flying solo again tonight. It is another kind of late night recording we're doing, just kind of as summer's approaching. We've had a little bit of a wonky schedule, so a little late for JP, but we've got a cool episode today. So we have with us today, we have Keith. Keith on Instagram is Keith's Days of Future Past. What's really cool is, like a lot of us, and we're going to get the details of the story, but Keith reached out to me and said, hey, I've got back into my collecting, but I haven't gone back to my parents' house where there's a collection from my childhood that I have not opened up since I've started collecting. So as part of our kind of interview today, we're also going to check out what he found in this collection that he hasn't opened in almost 30 years. So with that in mind, Keith, how you doing? Say hello. How's it going?
Hey everyone, I'm Keith. Keith's Days of Future Past and Instagram, and I got back into collecting comics in December, so only 6 months ago. But it's been like, it's a wild ride for sure. Now that I'm old and I have money, like as opposed to when you're like a teenager and you're like broke.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
It's a different kind of viewpoint.
Well, let's start back there. Let's go back to when you were young and broke. Tell us the origin story. How did the love start originally?
Yeah, so like for me, it must have been around grade 4. So for me, that's like 84. So like I'm old. I'm very old. I feel old, but I think it's mostly just neighborhood kids like had comic books, and then everyone's just ends up getting comic books. And everyone's trading, and I know like right around that time when we started, it was when like Secret Wars 1 came out, and obviously like Amazing Spider-Man 252, and like the black costume looks so sick. And I think that's like kind of like got me going into comic collecting for sure. And like I feel like initially, like for me, like Fantastic Four was like my jam, and I think it's the John Byrne art that like totally like drew me towards that. So and then slowly like everyone in the neighborhood just stopped collecting, and then eventually it was just me and this one other dude that I was friends with. So we would collect comics, and we would skateboard, and basically we would like these two dudes who collected, and that was it. It was so like, I don't know how other people's like journeys are like for collecting comics, if they have like this whole crew that like they roll with and they all collect comics, or if it's a little bit more like a lonely island where like you're just doing your own thing.
I know for me personally, like it was just one of the things that the crew was into, from the time that we did it. Like, we had a handful of people that were all good friends with me and my brother as we grew up, and we were into sports, and comics was just one of the other things that we were into. So it was all about more like trading and, kind of getting things and things like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously I think we've talked to several people who kind of were on it. So, and they're like, I know a lot of people grew up and it's like, I was an only child, and this is one of the things I did to keep myself busy. So everyone's got their own kind of story on that for sure. Your name, though, is Keith's Days of Future Past. So obviously there's an X-Men tie-in. Did that happen in those early years, or was it Spider-Man, Fantastic Four in the 80s?
Yeah, so like Spider-Man was never really like sort of like my focus. I had a friend, like my other buddy, like he was like pure Fantastic Four. Like for me, I kind of jumped around a lot. Like I liked Fantastic Four for a while, and then but like I switched over to X-Men like pretty quickly. So yeah, X-Men's kind of been like my main
what got you
focus.
to jump to X-Men?
I think it was just like, it was right around, like I'm trying to think which episode, like, or which issue it was, but I don't think it was anything in particular. It might have been sort of like the influence of like the older guys who were doing it, and like they were into X-Men. I was like, oh, like maybe I should check out the X-Men. And then you read it and you're like, oh, like this is crazy. Like this is like different kind of story. Like there's like prejudices, and they tackle like some
big
different
issues.
things. Yeah. Like it's not just like, I don't know, like Spider-Man's kind of silly sometimes, like he's like kind of goofing around. He's like, it almost feels like a Thor movie.
Teenage boy dealing with teenage boy things.
Yeah. And so like just started like sort of filling in like a lot of like those issues, like probably like from like sort of like 140 to like 180. That's like trying to fill those back in. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. And then when I was trying to come up with like my name for like Instagram, like what's going to be like, because it's like Days of Future Past. It's like, so I'm thinking about like my collection in the past, but it's,
no, it fits. I like it. Yeah, it is funny, like how we all, when we come back, all these old guys, we're like, we gotta come up with some catchy Instagram name.
But I was close to calling it Keith's Journey into History, but it's the
I
mystery.
Like
the mystery would just be spelled with an H, but it's still spelled like mystery. Yeah, that was my other
That's
one.
A good one.
So.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. So those years of initial collecting, 84 to 92, was it?
Yeah, that's right. So 84 to 92 is heavy collecting, and going to like my first comic convention, and basically so that was right around, I think, when Secret Wars like was like almost ending, but they were selling like the full like bundles of like Secret Wars like 1 to 12 like as like a set. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I can get the whole set, like, and it's gonna be like in really good shape, because most of the ones we had were like kind of like beaters at that point. Yeah. So it's just like sort of like filling things like that, and like you just see so many like vendors. It was insane. Like when you're like a little kid, like you're like a kid in a candy store, your mom gives you like $50 and you like spend it all like super quick.
Yeah, I mean, I told this many times. Like I just remember those times. I never went to a comic convention, but like there was a big comic store in our neighborhood, or not our neighborhood, in our town. And just oftentimes like my parents would go run errands and they would just drop us off. And I would just be like wide-eyed, just walking around. I love that though. So then 92, you were one of the last man standing, but obviously eventually you had a break. You said you just came into it 6 months ago. So we're talking December, 2023. Was that it, or was there like another time before December? Yeah,
so there was a small period, so it was a really small period. So in 92, I kind of like puttered out, and like I started university and I was just really busy with school. And then, but I would and it's a dead of winter in Canada. It's like freezing. So like I used to go to like this mall and just like walk around and just stay warm. And there was a comic store in there. And then, so this is, I think 90, it's only like 2 or 3 years later, whenever like the Age of Apocalypse came out. So then I saw that like shiny cover of the Alpha one. I was like, oh, like I've never seen that kind of like, I don't even know what it's called. It's like plastic cover that's like shiny and glossy. And I'm like, oh wow. And then I bought that and I read it. I'm like, oh. And then I just bought like that whole series, but then I exited again. So I only kind of stayed for like the Age of Apocalypse just to read that story.
It's a hot minute.
Yeah. And then ever since then, it's kind of been like nothing. It's like no collecting, but always like watching the movies. And then I watch the movies and I would say to like my girlfriend, my wife, who's now my wife, and like, oh yeah, that's not accurate. Like what they're doing, like Rogue Streak doesn't come from Magneto. It's like, it's just stupid things like that. Like I know it's useless stuff when I'm watching these movies.
No, but I mean, I totally feel that in the sense that like, even though I was out of the comic book specific part of it, like Marvel and even DC, like it always held a firm place in terms of interest for me. So it was like whether or not it would come up in conversation, in movies. I mean, I even remember a time when one of my friends, this is now probably in my early 20s, as a gift, they got me that Marvel encyclopedia because they knew I was into it. And I loved having that thing, but that never was impetus for me to like, oh, I should start collecting comics again. But like, I was still into having that and flipping through it and reading up on some stuff and kind of, so I totally get that. It's kind of weird that it seems that's a very common thing. Like even JP, when he was here, was always talking about like, he loved when Iron Man came out in 2008. He's like, but none of that ever like got him to jump back into the actual specific comic collecting. So it seems to be a pretty common thing, but like we never like let it go. I mean, at least the IP, we never let it go. But it was the comic specific collecting that we have re-engaged with. So December 2023 comes around. What is it that kind of brings you back?
Yeah. So it's so bizarre because like my regular, like, Instagram, like my spyglass just kept, like, I don't even know why, it just kept, all this comic stuff kept showing up. And I was like, okay, like I click on one and then like the AI is like, oh yeah,
the algorithm,
he knows what he's doing. So like more and more and more. And then like basically I was like, oh, like I have some of these books. I'm like, oh, like this one's like worth a lot. Cool. I'm like, I feel like if I started collecting now, I would be like kind of like one leg up on like a lot of other people because I have all that shit in my collect. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I had all that stuff in my collection like back home. Like, and then I was like, okay, like maybe it might be like fun to like get back into it. And I just kept thinking about it. And then all that that Mark Jeweler gate thing or whatever it is, like with the
CGC
swapping,
scandal?
yeah, the scandal happened, and then I just went down that rabbit hole, and I was on like the CGC forum, like catching up every day, like on all the like stuff that everyone's talking about, and people like finding out all these other books that were like swapped, like Hulk 181s from a green label to like a universal label, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell's going on? Like this is so like intriguing, and I'm like. So for all of December, I didn't buy anything. And then all of January, I didn't buy anything. And then in February, I was like I'm going to go in. Like, I'm just going to get in there. And I'm like, okay, I want to buy like the one book that like I always wanted, which is X-Men 94. And then I told my wife, and she's like, you're fucking crazy. She's like, there's no way you're spending $1,000 on a book. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should like rethink this. And I sort of like would just be scrolling through like auctions and stuff, just watching prices and seeing like, okay, maybe maybe 1,000 is too much, but like maybe I'll somehow like leverage to like get like a lower grade copy that presents well. And then my dad ended up giving me like these like gold coins. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna like sell these gold coins and like get all this money for it, and that'll be like my nest egg for like comic book collecting. And then that's kind of like what happened. And yeah, so I did get my X-Men 94, but I did not spend like $1,000.
Was that still the first book?
That is the first book, yeah. So I got it from like Comic Link, and it's a 6.5, but it like presents like super nice. It just has like a little like water stain.
Is still already on its own.
Yeah. So it's funny. Like there's a picture of me like holding it. I'm like, oh wow, it's like X-Men 94. And then like Felix has one when he got his, and he's holding it the same way. And I show my wife, and she's like you guys are crazy. That's like the exact same photo, and you're holding it like a baby. Yeah, it's funny.
It is your new baby.
But, yeah, exactly. So it displays like all the time, like on like my little shelf, and with whatever other books I sort of cycle through. But I think it always kind of stays up there.
And then with that purchase, then now you're back in.
Yeah, like I kind of, I told my wife, I'm like, okay, there's only going to be 10 books, like 10 special books I'm going to buy. And then like slowly, like week by week, I'm slowly whittling away at like that 10. And then like basically a 10's gone. Like after like 4 months or 3. Yeah, after 3 or 4 months, like I've already like rifled through all 10. And then I picked up 2.
What were those, like at least some of those 10?
Yeah, so X-Men 94 was one. And then I just wanted to get some of those bigger X-Men books. So I wanted X-Men 101 and X-Men 129. And then I ended up getting both of those from Aaron A1, who was on, I think, like the 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
And it just coincidentally, when I bought them from him, I was going to Disneyland. And
so you were able to pick them up?
Yeah, he was having a Garage Con. So I went to the Garage Con and met him in person. He handed it over to me, and I gave him like the rest of the money. So I got to meet him, and he's like such a nice guy, and
great guy.
And then also his friend Ryan, who's hosting in his garage, and even like this other guy on Instagram, Carlos, that I've been chatting with. He like picked me up to go to the thing because the Uber was trying to like surge charge me $50 each way, and it's like only like a 12-minute drive. And
and you had never met Carlos before?
No, I never met him before. He's just like this. I just been chatting with him just about X-Men stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, you want me to pick you up?" I'm like, "Oh sure." And then my wife's like, "Oh yeah, make sure $10 license plate doesn't kill you and like kidnap you."
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times like I've had this conversation with my wife because like I have a podcast partner that lives across the country from me, and we've never met. And she's like, "Isn't this weird?" I'm like, "No, it's good. It's all right."
Yeah. So Carlos is so nice, and then like we got along really well. And then like he's like, "Look, man, like I like you." He's like, "You're a cool guy." He's like, I want to give you some books because I know you don't have any books. You only have like 3 comic books. I was like, okay, cool. So he gave me like the Days of Future Past. He gave me like a copy of 141 and 142.
That's great.
So I was like, wow, like, dude, like you're such a nice guy. Like, thanks so much. So shout out to Carlos. Like,
who's Carlos on Instagram?
He's like X-Man something, but yeah, let me look up his exact handle, and yeah, but he's a great guy. Let me just check. What is it? Sorry, I feel like maybe I should have wrote this down or something.
That's all right.
He's always in all my chats. Cromero 1169.
Oh, okay, yeah, I follow him.
Yeah. So Carlos is a great guy. Thanks a lot, Carlos.
Yeah, awesome. Shout out to Carlos. Right on. I love that. Okay, so continue on.
Yeah, and yeah, so then the next books were what was it? Oh, I got like X-Men 133, like one with the Wolverine cover.
Mm-hmm.
And
First
I got that
Wolverine.
Yeah, so I got that from Maddie's Comics, and that was cool. And then that went on really well. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah, Matt's
like,
great guy.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, like I feel like the whole like Instagram community has just been really nice. And what's the other next 2 I got? Oh, I crushed through the 2 Alpha Flight issues, so that's 120 and 121. And I got the first Sabretooth.
Iron Fist 14.
Yeah, Iron Fist 14. It was kind of like just like, oh, like I'm gonna just like do this little bit offer and see what happens. And then like I won. I was like, oh, yay! Yeah. That's another that's like 7 out of 10 now or whatever it is. And then yeah, and then I got the first Vindicator. So that was a 109. Yeah. And then what else is there? I think that was a 10.
Yeah, I mean, close enough at least. We get a good picture of what you're looking at.
So now, like, yeah, those are all the big books, and now I can only like get like the mini books like throughout the thing.
So let me ask, when you're talking to your wife about these 10 books that you want to get, were you also saying, but I also have this collection that I collected for 8 years back at my folks' house?
Yeah, she knew that I was a comic nerd back in the day, and because I'm always like talking about the movies and how inaccurate some of the stuff is. And I'm like, that didn't happen. And then even when like they took Vision apart, I'm like, look, this is the cover of like West Coast Avengers, like whatever. I'm like, look, he's all like in pieces. Like this is exactly what happened. And yeah, so she knows like I'm into all of that. And yeah, I wasn't sure. Like I was fairly certain my comic collection still existed at my parents' house.
Oh, okay. That was gonna be my question. Like, did you know it was always there, and were they just cool keeping it, or?
No, I was not sure. I went to like my local comic shop and just puttering around, and I was just talking to him. I'm like, yeah, so I have my comic collection back home. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, I think so. He's like, because lots of people think their childhood comic collection's there, and then they go home and it's gone. I was like, oh crap. So then I phoned up, and like my brother's like still like over here, and I'm like, hey, like, do you know if like my comic collection is still there? And he's like, oh yeah, it's there. I moved it from the basement to like the closet upstairs, so it's all still there. I'm like, okay, cool. And I was like, all right. So that gives like a sense of relief,
So between then and now, the only reason why you hadn't opened it up yet is because you don't live there, correct?
Yeah, so I live. So my comic collection is in Ontario, in the east side of Canada, and I live in Vancouver, which is obviously on the west coast.
Yeah, just north of me.
Yeah, I don't spend that much time back east really. I maybe come back and visit every year, once a year, once every couple of years type of thing. And my parents don't travel, so like it's sort of like I have to like make the effort to make my way back here, and yeah, so I finally made it back here just this past week, and yeah, it's all there, like 6 long boxes of my collection, and then there's also like 6 or 8 boxes of like just fruit boxes, just with like piles of comics in there that are just like random. Like there's like a whole bunch of Defenders, like, or new Defenders, and like who collects that? Like, why are they in there? Or like a whole bunch of reprints of like, I don't know, like the old Fantastic Fours or something. It's like, oh, like that's so bizarre. But like, yeah, I sort of like tried to like sort through everything. I didn't know how this was gonna go. I was like, oh, should I wait to like open it so I can open it like on this thing? But we would have been here for like 4 hours.
absolutely.
I was like, okay, so I've kind of processed everything, and like I have like a couple of piles of like sort of like interesting sort of things that maybe like we can talk about.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. And then also, I want, because we've also chatted on what you found a little bit. So the collection is the 84 to 92, and then there was a time in 2009 your brother picked up some comics at the Goodwill, right?
yeah, so
So
that's
we don't need to reveal what those are yet. But
yeah. So I call that the Goodwill Pedigree Collection.
Yes.
So it's just this like box of like 100 books. They were all unbagged, so my brother just bagged them and just threw them in the box, and he didn't tape them up or anything. So when he showed it to me, it's all like just like open bags, and the bags are all like wrinkled and like I don't think they're very good quality. So I was like, okay, like I knew that it was like some X-Men's, because I remember seeing them like when I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago when I came back to visit, but I didn't like kind of like rifle through it because I wasn't collecting. I just knew that they were there. Yeah, but there's some stuff in there that was like surprising.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, let's just say for those that are listening, you're gonna want to stick around and see what's in the Goodwill collection. Let's and also you're gonna love the prices that are gonna be. So let's jump into this a little bit. Like, why don't we start at the kind of, let's work our way up. So kind of, you said you got some piles, like kind of like let's kind of stair step our way up, kind of start going through what you found.
So do you want to just sort of go through like the Goodwill collection, or do you want to go through like maybe some of the stuff that's in my?
Yeah, let's go through the childhood stuff, all of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do that. I just have like a few things. But yeah, there's some like bizarre stuff that was in like some of those boxes.
I mean, I think when you look at anyone that gets a collection from the 80s, there's just gonna be some just crazy, random, bizarre stuff in that time zone.
Yeah. Oh, so this was kind of cool. So I did have like all three.
Oh yeah, great book. But Beta Ray Bill first appearance.
Yeah,
there you go. Bill. That's starting it off hot.
Yeah, and they're all like newsstand. I was hoping I would have a Canadian price variant, but I only have a Canadian price variant on this one.
Okay.
Where's the camera? There it is, like 75 cents. Oh, where's it? Where's my camera?
Other way.
Okay, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was pretty stoked on that. I wish that the 337 was a Canadian price variant.
I mean, just to have it in general is a great book.
Yeah. And I was always psyched on Beta Ray Bill. I thought he was pretty cool. What else? I thought I had that one McFarlane Batman cover.
Like, 423.
Yeah, but I didn't. I had this other one, which is another Canadian price variant, which is this.
Those are great. The year one. Is it year one or whatever? Yeah, those are great covers.
Year whatever. Yeah. So this one's a Canadian price variant. So I was pretty psyched on that one. And then I have the part 3 as well, but this one's just a direct. But like, yeah, I was kind of surprised that like I probably had like one long box of like DC, which was surprising. I don't really remember like collecting that much DC, but I think it's mostly like Batman and like Teen Titans maybe. But yeah, I'm not really like a DC guy like in general, but I was surprised. And then there's almost like a whole box of like independent stuff. I was like, holy crap, I have a lot of independent stuff. Like there's this Canadian comic company from like the 80s called Aircel, and they had like, yeah, you might not have made it down there, but they had like this really great artists and like really great stories. So they had this one story thing called Elf Lord, and they had this one called Samurai, and they were all like crazy. They're pretty violent, and but it's pretty cool. So there's a whole bunch of that in there, and then I almost have like a full run of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the Mirage, like starting from like 1 to like around like 30 something, and then all the micro series, like all the one shots for each of the turtles. And yeah, it was interesting. I'm not that into turtles either, so
there is a TMNT 1 though?
Yeah, it's all the comic book size ones though. I don't have any of the huge ones. I have Raphael, the huge one. But
okay. So the reprints ones, okay.
Yeah, everything. Those first, like I guess 1, 2, 3, and 4 are reprints.
Yeah.
And they're all the first of the comic book size ones, I guess.
Got it. Gotcha.
Because they were all like huge. Like, I don't know if people.
Yeah, they're
collect it,
like the magazine size.
Yeah, they're like, damn, how am I
have
gonna fit this in my box?
I have a Raphael one too, and it's like it's big.
Yeah, and then I have like, I have this over here. So I have like the Fugitoid.
Oh yeah, yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then I have the Raphael here.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So I was pretty stoked to find those. They were like just in like they're not in the comic box, they're just in some random box somewhere.
Yeah, they don't fit in the comic box.
So let's see. Okay, this is like, I always thought this was rad.
Oh yeah, that's a great what if book. I would say,
uh-huh.
in my opinion, of the what if series, the two best are that one, and then obviously because I'm a Silver, if the Silver Surfer had the Infinity Gauntlet. I think those are the two best books.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually had a lot of like what ifs in my collection. I don't know if I had so this is something that's really strange. At one point in I don't know, maybe it's like probably in the late 80s, I ended up getting like a comic book subscription where there was this dude that I met at a Comic-Con. He had a business card. He's like, oh yeah, you can get comics from me, and they're like I don't know, I think like 20% off like cover price. I was like, oh, okay. And then like I go to the address and it's like just like a townhouse in a row of townhouses. I'm like, oh, this is sketchy. So then I left, and then like my friend like went and he's like, oh yeah, it's cool. It's actually like a dude like who sells comics. He has comics in his basement. I was like, okay. So I go back and I get a comic subscription from this guy. So you're like, okay, like get me like whenever the X-Men's, Uncanny X-Men's, and with like all these like series when they come out, then he'll just like have a shelf like with your name on it, and then you just pay like as you go, and you pick up like every month or every 2 months or whatever. So I have like I don't have really gaps in like my in my collecting or in my series, like starting from a certain point because I was on the subscription thing. But I did notice something about when I stopped collecting, because I had all these books that were at the end of the run around 92 that I didn't process or bag or anything. They were just loose. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's when I kind of puttered out from collecting, because they're just sitting there in just like a big, like kind of like plastic bag that you would carry your comics in, like that from the store, you know? Mm-hmm, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I sort of like puttered out. So it was like, you know, the X-Men 11 with the Wolverine on the cover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't make it to that. Like I my subscription stopped like kind of like probably maybe 3 issues before that, and then so I never made it to there. So that's when I kind of stopped collecting, because I wasn't sure when exactly it happened, but I knew it was around that window. But that was like a very clearly marked like sort of flag of like when I stopped, because
clear mark of demarcation.
I did not process those books. They did not end up in my comic like boxes, my long boxes. They just ended up in some random box, and then I found them all. I'm like, oh crap! So now I'll bag them all. So they're all kind of nice. But it's funny because all that Carnage issues came out right around then.
Oh yeah,
I have all the Carnage issues, but I don't have the first appearance. So like somehow I don't know where it went. So I went from like, I guess what is it, 360 to 362, and I was like, oh, like so close to just getting that other one. But I thought that was kind of like bizarre. But there's also all these like weird things that like there's these gaps in my collection that I know that the comics should have been there, because I remember buying like the Punisher Limited series, like all 5 issues. But in my collection, it's only like 3, 4, 5. And something like Amazing Spider-Man 252 is missing, but 253 is there. And then there's always like Hobgoblin issues. I figured should be there, but yeah, it's just like all over the place. I don't understand like kind of where they went. And then same with like something like the Batman, like Death in the Family. I have issues like 3 and 4, but I don't have 1 and 2. But like, why would I, you know what I mean? Why would I only buy like 3 and 4? So there's just these weird gaps in there, and I still don't understand like where they went. So that's kind of like bizarre. Let's just show a few more. So this is the reprint. Yeah. So I was like, you know, I was like, I'm never gonna own this. And this is a John Byrne, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great cover.
Yeah, but when all these like Wolverine, like the What If Wolverine and this one are together, it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is like I don't know if like I don't think it's that common, but I've seen it around. But like I was pretty stoked on this one when I got it.
I don't think I've seen that one actually.
Yeah, so this is like the Marvel team up. This is the first. I think this is like the second Phoenix or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I got this. Like, it's kind of funny. Like when I was a kid, like we had like maybe 3 comic shops in the town, and you go there like every week, and then you sort of end up seeing all the same back issues over and over again, and like there's nothing new that's coming up. So I was at just some random Comic Con just happened at some time. I was like out like with my mom, and she's like, "Oh, there's a Comic Con, you should go," and I'll go like shopping. And then I found this there at the Comic Con. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then I'd never seen it before, but so like it's still there, and it's a square bound book, and I think it looks pretty cool.
I feel like when you think about like us as kids back then, like something like that Marvel team up would seem like the coolest thing ever, right? It's like Spider-Man and X-Men together. Like, what could be cooler?
Yeah, I know. Marvel team up. I don't know. That's a cool concept. I also like Marvel 2-in-1 as well. Like I was into the Thing for a while there as well.
Oh, I love the Thing.
Yeah. Here's a Canadian price variant of this guy.
Oh yeah, big one. Love it.
Yeah, it's not in the best condition. It's probably like an 8.0.
That's not bad for a CPV.
Yeah, I was hoping it'd be better, but it is what it is. And I found this guy too. I was hoping it's gonna be a Canadian price variant, but it's not. It's just.
Does that have the tattoos?
It does. I actually opened. I was like, "Fuck!" I never even realized the tattoos even existed for these things until like I started like, watching Instagram. But like, yeah, they're gone. So
that's all right.
Yeah.
Still cool. Fine. I mean, it's still worth something.
It's funny. I was on this like one website that talks about all the Canadian price variants, and there was a thing that for a while there were like the Canadian copies that came might not have had
the
tattoos in them or something.
Yeah. I think that's
like
maybe true.
I just don't know. It just like, why would they do that? I just didn't seem like it
I don't
made
know,
sense,
but I think I've seen that as well, but I'm not 100% on it.
Yeah. So this comic's worth nothing, but like I love the cover. This is the Fantastic Four 249.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the John Byrne. He homaged his Superman cover. That's like
yeah. So I was always super stoked on this one. Yeah, that was happy. Okay, I'm gonna pull up 2 books that I found in like the random boxes that I thought were like, oh, like this is pretty cool. Like I've never like seen this one before.
Yes, love this is one of the best Doom covers. I love this book.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
So yeah, I was wow, like that's a kind of cool find. It's in pretty good shape too. It's
that's a great book.
Tears or anything. Yeah, so I was like, oh, cool.
Great book.
And then I found my first like pre-code horror book. I've never seen one before. So it's just this like
Weird Science. There you go.
Yeah, and it's massive. It doesn't even kind of fit in a regular bag. I guess.
Well, yeah, because Golden Age books are bigger.
Yeah, I never knew that. I didn't even realize that like there's a whole other like there's so many segments of collectors. Like I never knew that there's people who like collect like Archies or like
I romance books.
Yeah, romance books. I didn't even know like I didn't even know what pre-code horror was until like I had to Google it.
100%. Like when I was a child collecting, you could not have paid me to know any of that. I would have had no idea. Like, but now, like when I've learned all of that stuff, or not all of it, but a lot of it now.
Yeah, and so that was like, oh man, that's weird. Just maybe a few more. So this is another one that I don't know if it's worth anything, but I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, Spider-Man and Dracula.
Yeah,
and I didn't know people collected like even like that kind of horror stuff, like Dracula and like what is it, like Man Wolf and
Werewolf by Night.
Oh, Werewolf by Night, yeah.
The Bronze Age horror is very hot right now.
It's and this one was kind of cool too. So this is another. So this
First Guardians. There you go.
Yeah. So this thing's kind of beat up. It has like tape all over the spine, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool to find. I didn't expect to see it. I guess like I don't know. I just maybe show 3 issues from like the Goodwill Pedigree collection. This is just a sample of like kind of like what's in there. So like
there you go. Gambit.
Like this Gambit one and what's this one? Oh, sorry, that's the Gambit one.
Yeah, that's the other Gambit one.
The Psylocke. Yeah, and they all have this like little, I don't even know if you can be able to see it, this little
Goodwill sticker.
the little Goodwill sticker at the bottom. So got to work on like hair drying goes off or whatever. But yeah, there's some stuff in there for sure. It starts like as early as like 95 and then goes just like kind of sparsely intermittently, like in all the way to like, I don't know, like 280 or something, just like all over the place. So
Nice.
there's definitely stuff in there. Most of the earlier stuff, like in the 90s and probably like from 90 until like 140, they're like pretty beat up. But yeah, I guess let me just grab that one more from that. Oh yeah. So this one was in there as well. And
No, that was that. So this is another cut. This is not the original one you got.
yeah, this is not the one I got from Aaron. This is another one. So this one's like
awesome.
a little bit beat up. There's a big subscription increase down the middle, but hey, it's better than not having one.
Hey, a free copy of that is one to take any day.
Yeah, so I'll sell that one. But yeah, maybe we can just go through like, I guess. Oh yeah, this is something I didn't know I had.
Oh, love it! I love First Black Cat.
So I was like pretty excited to find this. I was like, oh wow. And then it's also like in really nice shape.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one looks very sharp.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send this into like I'm prepping a box to go to the comic doctor.
Oh yeah.
For clean and press. So he's in like Oshawa and I'm in Ottawa right now. So
okay,
it's a pretty like I'm not gonna drive it there, but I'm just gonna send it because it's pretty close, and I'll have him like do some cleaning and pressing and submitting.
Nice, very cool.
And then yeah, this is just.
Oh, Deadpool. Dude, these are some bangers you got here, man.
Yeah. This one's actually in like surprisingly good shape. Like I'm surprised because I have like the first Gambit, like what is it, 266?
Yep.
And just a huge like you know like when they strap like books with like the like newspapers, it has one of those like right on the edge. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like it's I don't even know. It's probably like a 7 at that point or whatever.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, it looked really great. So, yeah, I have 2 of these somehow.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was pretty stoked on that. And then, I got 2 of these guys. I don't know how that happened either.
Oh man, this is awesome.
So I'm gonna submit I'll send all of these to Kevin, the comic doctor, and have him clean and press. And then this one is like, I guess I didn't know that this one was like kind of like worth something, like this reprint.
Yeah, because it's the video game cover number 4. Yeah, so I mean it's not like I think you probably get like I don't know somewhere around 100, 150 somewhere in there for that.
Yeah, but like even if it gets as high as a 9.6 or a 9.8, it's like it's selling for like $500.
Oh, is it? Okay,
so,
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so I was surprised then. Yeah, this is just like.
Yep. 340, nice.
Yeah, so I had the whole McFarlane run, so I was like I knew that should have been in there unless someone took it like at some point. But yeah, I always found it so bizarre that like the front end of that Incredible Hulk run with McFarlane doesn't look like McFarlane's art because I guess the inker didn't sort of do him justice of his style, and then it took probably like 7 or 8 issues until it started looking like McFarlane that we know, you know. Oh yeah, here's my what's it called, my Gambit
266. It's nice colors on it.
Yeah, so it's got like this weird I don't know, you can't see it, but it's that weird strap dent in it. So that was unfortunate. Oh yeah, these are the 2 comics I got, Aaron. I brought them because I knew I was going to submit.
Yeah. Oh, those are the 2 of the original 10.
Yeah, exactly. So nice. Aaron's the man. Okay, so there's just so this is just my other
301.
301, yeah. So I'm gonna circle back to the Goodwill.
Yes.
So obviously there's just a whole bunch of X-Men books and like there's no X-Men 94 in there. And then when I first came back, I remember there were these 2 books that were kicking around the house. Whether it's like my brother's collection, I don't know if I ever inherited from him or not, but there's an X-Men 94 that he colored it all in on the cover to make it bright. And so I know that it's like whatever color touch, like definitely, but it was nowhere to be found. So I was like, oh, okay, that's unfortunate. And then I knew there was a Hulk 180, without a cover, so it's just like the inside of it
Mhm.
kicking around. But I didn't find that either. I was going through all the books. I'm like, oh, where's that Hulk 180? And I thought that would be like, at least I could have something of Hulk 180. Because when I started in like January and February, and I was talking to my wife, I'm like, there's 2 books that I want, and I'll never own them because they're so expensive. I'm like, X-Men 94, like that's probably the most I'm gonna spend on a comic book because everything else is too expensive. Like I'll never, like I look at the prices like on like a Hulk, like so many Hulk 181s and like Giant Size X-Men show up on like the stream.
Yep.
And,
Oh yeah.
and those are my 2 grails, and I'm like that's a 3.5, and it's like $2,000 US, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like I'm never gonna spend that much on a book. Like that just doesn't work for me. Like I would love to have it.
I'll tell you, if you want to have it, let's just say you've got some great books that you can use to fund yourself to it.
Yeah, I know. It's just, yeah. So it's like trying. I was talking to Aaron, and he like kind of like has like this Excel sheets and stuff, and then like he creates like a little nest egg to like sort of like upgrade to his next one.
Yeah, exactly. He's the man that does it. So
yeah,
he's the one that
I
mimic
love
if
that.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is what you've
um,
uncovered is your initial nest egg potentially, right? So like, and we'll talk about this too after we go through. Like, we can talk a little bit more about this, but yeah, continue on.
Yeah. Okay. So in like the Goodwill Pedigree collection box, I did the first book I pulled up because at the front was like my number 2 grail.
Yes, baby. Look at that.
And I was I almost had a panic attack. So yeah, I was like, that's crazy. The cover is detached, and there's like a rip on the back cover as well. But it is what it is. I guess like something is better than nothing.
It is a GSX-1, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you can see there's a Goodwill sticker on it.
Yeah, and what's the price that it says?
99 cents.
99 cents. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that was like crazy. So yeah. So I uncovered that. I think that the first day when my brother like brought the box, he was like, "Oh, here's all that was like old beat up X-Men." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I pulled it out. And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like freaking out. And yeah. And then I kind of set it aside because my wife was with me like in town, and then she moved on to go visit her parents in another city, and I stayed behind to just spend time with my family and just go through all these comic books. And then I went back into like the Goodwill Pedigree collection box, and I wanted to test out like removing stickers, like removing the Goodwill stickers
directly on the comic.
Yeah, like with a hairdryer. And I was like just testing some garbage books. So I went to the back of the box to pull out like just one of the later issues that maybe didn't mean anything, and then I pulled out.
Yes.
Like I almost had a heart attack. Like for
look
real.
at that. Now
Yeah.
is the MVS in there?
Yeah, it is.
Look at that. That is a freaking awesome. Oh,
yeah.
That is
and there's a Goodwill sticker.
99 cents. Oh,
99 cents. And it actually like when I send this in to get clean and pressed, it's like the first thing I did was open it, and I went to go just see if the Marvel value stamp was there, and it was. I was like, oh my god. And then yeah, it looks like pretty nice. And then but it does have like a stiffness to it, so I know it's been like kind of like moisture damaged at some point. So
well, I mean, if you're sending these books to the comic doctor, he may be able to do something with the sticker himself too.
Yeah. I'm not gonna mess around with the stickers. When I was testing it around, like some of them were like, okay, it came off super easy, and some of them was like, oh yeah, that's not coming off. Yeah. And I'm like hair drying it for like 30
I mean, they have all kinds of tricks with like humidity and things like that. So maybe he could do something.
So yeah, so this is going to him like later this week, and I hope he does his magic, and then who knows like what's gonna come back, and then I don't know. Like I guess CGC is gonna ding me like probably like $300 or something because they charge you like I guess whatever percentage of.
Well, yeah. So those are gonna go. Value. That's gonna go walk through, and so it's a minimum of $150. or 4% of the fair market value, which they never release how they establish a fair market value. But I mean, I'm assuming they use like GPA and things like that.
Yeah.
And they take the higher. So, I mean, that's going to be more than the 150. So yeah, you'd be at 4% of whatever they set it at, depending on the grade it gets.
But yeah, that's worth it to me. Yeah. So this will be like my first like submission, and yeah, I think I'm gonna submit the giant size as well, just so I can get in a slab, and it'll be easier for me to use it to trade or to sell, and then I can upgrade like to like the next sort of copy that I want, because I don't think I want to live with like, it's probably like a 1 point, I don't even know, like a 1.5 or something. I think I want something better.
Yeah, for sure. And like you've got some good trade chips there. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what are your initial thoughts? Like, I mean, we saw Gambit, Beta Ray Bill, multiple Venoms, a Black Cat, Giants X-Men 1, Hulk 181, First Guardians. I mean, these are some great books. Like, what are your initial thoughts of what to do? Are you going to keep a lot of this? Are you going to use a lot of it to upgrade like GSX1 or other books? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to sell some on like eBay or through Instagram or whatever. I just have to get a sense of, I think like I might just do it through eBay. Like it's too, I don't know if it's necessarily easy to sell like on Instagram if you don't have like an audience. You know?
I will tell you. So no, you're exactly right. So Instagram is my favorite place to purchase, and get books. However, if you are not someone, and it's not even a function of like sell or followers, it's a function of how many followers you have that are looking to you for purchasing books, right? Like, I mean, this is not by any means for me, like trying to toot my horn, but like my Instagram has over 3,000 followers. I can't sell a book to save my life on Instagram because no one is coming to my page to look for something to buy.
Yeah.
That being said, I have had tremendous success, and I even had some today, selling on Facebook groups. So it's the same experience, but you're in these groups that are comic trade and sell groups. So everyone's doing that. So you can get your price ideally, and then you don't have to do the eBay fees. So not saying that you can't do eBay, but I would highly recommend and like all the groups have like rules, like you have to use PayPal guests and services and things like, so there is protection there for both sides, but you're going to take way less of a hit than the eBay fee.
It's like 15, close to 15%.
Yeah. And so I can send you 2 groups that I sell on if you want after we get off here. And I would definitely recommend starting there. Not saying that you can't do eBay as well, but like, I sell all the comic books I use to fund the other comic books that I want and get have all been sold on the Facebook groups.
Yeah. I'm a part of a few like Canada, like comic swap. Like there's like, I think 3, I'm in group in 3 of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So like I've like I bought like my first like bags and boards from like some guy who just had a whole bunch of surplus. So like, and I know, and he's like, oh, have you ever wanted any comics? Like, he's like, I collect mostly Silver Age, but like I might have some stuff that you might want. I was like, okay, cool. And I think that might be a good route. Yeah, I think all those sort of like avenues for selling, like whether it's like, I guess like Shortbox or eBay, like they'll ding you for like some percentage, like.
Yeah, I mean the consignment, even like Grails and Elite, they have. I mean, they're smaller percentages than eBay. But yeah, they have, now like with Elite and Grail, a lot of times like they really only want to sell graded books. That way they can put some kind of like guarantee behind it and things like so, because they're putting their name behind it. But you obviously are grading a number of those books. So then, okay, let's just say you are successful in moving the books that you don't care to keep. What are you then using the proceeds towards? And now, are you thinking, I still want to keep a 10-book collection, or are you a little bigger now?
No, I have like, it's probably like 2.5 long boxes that I'm gonna like bring on the plane with me or ship. back to Vancouver. So yeah, I'm bringing some of my childhood collection back with me, and but yeah, it's like mostly X-Men stuff and maybe some like some of these Fantastic Four books that I like, or some Alpha Flight stuff that I really enjoyed. Sort of like the Daredevil run, like for Frank Miller, starting at like the first Elektra up until like she dies, is sort of like that whole like yeah, like books that are like kind of like important like to me, like from like my childhood, I guess.
Wait, so did the childhood collection have First Electra and things like that? You didn't show that one.
No, I bought First Electra. Oh yeah,
Okay.
so that was the second book I bought. First Electra.
Okay, got it.
That was a really important book to me. Like I always like coveted that book, but it seemed too expensive like back then. It's even more expensive now, but like maybe I should have bought it in like like 88 or something.
Yeah.
But
we should have bought all our books in 88. Let me tell you.
I know. So yeah, I will, like, whatever I do, like basically anything that I sell now is just gonna go towards upgrading like the giant size X-Men one.
But you think you're pretty content then with the Hulk 181?
Yeah, once that gets clean and pressed, I'll be happy with it for sure.
I'm curious like if I can't remember you said his name, but Comic Doctor, let's just say if he can't get the sticker off without like adding more damage to the book, I wonder how much CGC would ding you for that price sticker.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen like, actually, I don't know if I've ever seen books that had a sticker on it. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, is it better just to leave it on, or is it better to like?
I mean, like I would think
damage it. Like,
yeah, I mean, like in my opinion, because for me with these big books, like it's not about the grade, it's about the presentation. And I would much rather have the book that has a small little sticker than say like a big tape pull on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too.
And even so, in that light, like even let's just say if CGC would ding you more for having the sticker on, I would prefer to keep the sticker on just because I think it would look better personally.
Yeah. So I'll when I sort of connect with Kevin Comic Doc, I'll let him know. I'm like, if you think you can get it off without damaging, sweet. If you don't think you can, just leave it. Yeah. And just send it as is, and we'll just suffer the consequences of whatever the. I guess it's kind of like it's like a memento of like the goodwill pedigree.
No, in a way, it adds to the allure and the story behind it. I mean, this is what I talk about, or not. This is what I have talked about a lot, right? What's really fun about this hobby is, you know, I'm going to assume just based on how the conversation has gone that you're not an ultra millionaire. And now, obviously, being an ultra millionaire would have lots of awesome benefits with it, right? But let's just say if you're at that level, you could essentially just buy what you want, right, when you want it. And like there is an aspect of that's cool too, because you could build a pretty awesome collection, don't get me wrong. But it's also fun that when you get these and actually achieve these big books, there's a story behind it, there's work behind it, there's time, there's energy, like that all plays into a part of like the value to you personally. Like I have found some books that I would love to have at a higher grade, but because of the story attached to it, I don't want a higher grade book because I want that book because because when I show it, I can be like, oh, this one has X, Y, and Z involved with it, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I totally get what you mean. Like it's like the hunt is like almost as important as like
it's the most important. I mean, I would say the hunt and then the community aspect, right? Like you showing the book off right now, that's the fun part, right? After don't get me wrong, like you sure you're gonna put it on your wall and things like that, but like it's sharing that story with others that's what's fun. Because like now that you have it, you're honestly probably thinking about like what can I do next, right? That's the whole game. And so it's like the hunt is what we love, and then the sharing it with the community is the other aspect of it.
Yeah. It's definitely like a different like I said, like collecting growing up, like after like the first like couple of years when everyone stopped collecting and it's just me and this one other guy, it was like it's a very like kind of like it's fun. Like I love reading comic books, but it was like kind of like a lonely like comic book existence. Not being able to just like I couldn't imagine like having just like like a huge group of friends, just shoot the shit about like what happened in like the latest like issue and all that. Like I never kind of had that. But now that like Instagram's here, like I have regular like chats with like all sorts of people just about everything. Like
Yeah.
like it's cool. It's fun. It's
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us like don't have the friends that we see on the regular in 3D are not into this hobby, and so you don't have that aspect. And so, like I've told people this many times on the show. Even had I not made the decision for whatever reason it was to like put myself on Instagram, which then led me to meet JP and numerous others now. Since now, even you. I would have burned out a long time. I would have been probably like 6 months in and then been like, okay, that was fun. On to the next. But that community side of it is what's made this awesome and want me to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. It's when my wife first saw like my like Keith Days of Future Past account, she's like, you have like more like followers here than you have on your main account. Like I'm like, yeah, it's like this crazy community. I was telling her about like I was in one of the live claim sales. I'm like this community is crazy. Like there's just some dude who's saying like he's gonna throw in $100 so that this other dude can get the book for $1,500 instead of $1,600. Like I'm like, this community's like it's for real, you know, like these people like are buddies and they're like want to support each other. It's cool. It's interesting. I don't know if this exists in like, I don't know if you collect like, I don't know, like Pokemons or like, I don't know what else. I don't know what other things people, Beanie Babies. I don't know. I don't know if people are like that supportive of each other.
Yeah, no, it is great because it's a small enough hobby where you can meet so many people, and it's a big enough hobby where there's so many people that can help you get to where you want to get, right? And then with comic books, what's also cool about it is there truly is enough for all of us to get what we want for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like it's great.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's like sort of like if you miss out, like you're not like you at first you're like kind of like bummed, but you're like, oh, like don't worry, like another one will come along.
I always tell people that like don't ever feel bad if you miss out on a deal, like, you know, something pops up on IG, you're like, oh, and it's like already claimed and you're like, dang it, that was a steal. It's like, don't worry, with enough patience, that deal will resurface.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's even like I always like still look at prices of other things. I'm like, did I get ripped off? Like did I get a good price? Like I always like, it's like for me, like as like growing up in like my mother's like second generation like Chinese. She came from like Hong Kong, China, and she's very like frugal and she's always looking for deals, and like I feel like that's kind of like been impressed on me. Like I totally do that. I'm always like hunting for deals and finding sales, and yeah, it's so it's when I'm doing comic books, I'm always like searching, and just trying to find the right fit. You know,
I always tell me like, so like one of my favorite things to do is like, because obviously I don't have the means to get a book every week or every day or every month or whatever like that. Like mine are kind of few and far between, but in the meantime, I enjoy helping other people find books. And so and so could be like, oh, I'm looking for ASM 50, or I'm gonna want ASM 50, and I'll start sending them ASM 50s I see for good price. And they're like, oh, well, I don't have the money yet. I'm like, I know, but save these because this is all data that we can then use. That when we do have the funds, this is all like part of the negotiation.
Yeah, I save all like my everything that I've bought is like I have so many saved links of like X-Men 101, like X-Men 94, like it's just like everything. And then like I don't have like the GPA thing, but so I always like ask people like who do have it. I'm like, hey, like what is this? You know? And yeah. So yeah, it's definitely been a fun ride, and yeah, I've really enjoyed like the community, and I enjoy like acquiring books and like finding deals, and yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of seeing what I can leverage from these books and get that Giant Size X-Men 1 upgrade. So
Absolutely, yeah, and we want to hear all about how it goes. I look forward to, obviously, as we keep talking and to hearing the upgrade stories and all this. But Keith, this was awesome. I mean, what a cool little video to do for our 75th episode. Seeing you uncover, these awesome. I mean, talk about a great nest egg to start and build a collection from. I mean, you got it. I mean, so many there too that you would just want to keep because there's such. I mean, like. You got 2 ASM 300s, for example. Like, who doesn't want a first Venom and then have one to use to trade? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I will literally keep the lower grade one, and I would trade even if they both come back. If one comes back, if they both come back 9.6, I'll sell them both, and I'll buy a 9.2. Like, I'm willing to do that. Like, I'm not like a grade snob. Like, I think like lots of like 9 point whatevers like present really nice, and I'm totally fine with that. And if I can leverage those into like, the acquisition of like this giant size X-Men, I'll do that.
It's the same thing. Like I've told this, I've talked with you about this. Like let's just say, just like your experience here, you uncover that Hulk 181, and let's just say you grade it and it's a 9.8, right? 9.8 now, obviously it's come down with the market, but 9.8 now I think they're in the 60 grand range. I would 100% sell that 9.8, and I would buy like a 5.5, 6.0, 6.5. I have a 5.5 now that I love. And then I would use that extra, because I mean, you're talking 60K and a 5.5 is going to cost you, $2,800 right now. So now you have essentially 55K. Let's just say, obviously, you could use it for other things in life.
Yeah.
Which is also smart. Like if you got other expenses, like by all means, but just say hypothetically, you can look at AF-15, Hulk 1, these books that you could add. And it's just like, I would rather have ASM or AF-15, Hulk 1, Fantastic Four 1, and Hulk 181 versus just one high grade Hulk 181.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally see that for sure.
And again, there are other people that would say the opposite, and that's totally fine too. But I'm definitely with you on that notion.
Yeah, and then for you, I know you said like your collection is like half a short box or something. Like you just focus in on like these certain like keys, and that's like how you collect, right?
Yeah, I mean, like my jam is major first appearances, and the as like and it's like as the evolution of the collection, it's kind of like there's obviously tons of first appearances, but like as you get better first appearances, the ones on the other end of the spectrum are like, okay, I no longer need to keep that one.
Yeah.
And so you kind of keep fine-tuning. And so it's like, my collection may get up to a full short box, but I really don't see it being much more than that. Yeah. Because I kind of keep kind of fine-tuning and kind of upgrading and fine-tuning and things like that. But yeah, first appearances are my big thing. And like now too, I'm like, I've gotten pretty much all the Bronze Age ones I've won, and I'm kind of getting into the Silver Age ones. Like I just got X-Men 1.
Oh, nice.
And next, I've got some ambitions for some other ones. I've got a Daredevil 1. So that's kind of where my focus is on now.
Yeah. So sweet. Yeah. It's always so like not just like how people collect like pre-code horror, like Archie, like romance, like just all these like different like sort of like genres or like just ways but there's also just different ways that people collect. It's like you have a certain way of collecting. There's people who like love to collect runs, and then there's
and that's what's cool. Like even if it's not your niche of what you want to collect, like I love watching there's YouTube feeds that talk about PCH and run. Like it's fun to learn about what other people are into and why they're collecting. Like all that stuff is super fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome, Keith. Well, yeah, this has been awesome. Everyone, if you don't follow Keith, it's Keith Days of Future Past on Instagram. I'll also link him in the description. Obviously, you've seen him unveil some just awesome books. Follow him along for the journey to come because it's going to be epic. And yeah, Keith, we'll obviously keep talking, and I look forward to seeing how your collection gets better. We'll see if it's possible.
It's gone from like 10 books to like 200 books and like just this one visit to like my parents' house. So pretty happy about that. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Rohan. This is fun.
All right, guys. Everyone, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will check you on the next one. Peace out.